Tobi Etti is a communications and business support specialist. Currently, he is a managing partner at The Push, a business consulting firm helping brands create products and experiences to drive growth and impact. Over the years, his experience with helping entrepreneurs has placed him in the intersection of strategy, operations, communications, and branding. He enjoys helping entrepreneurs reach their full potential, guiding them through idea generation and devising feasible solutions to their challenges. Tobi is a graduate of the prestigious University of Lagos and holds an MSc in Marketing Communications from the Pan-Atlantic University School of Media and Communications. He is also a member of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations. To contribute to the growth of SMEs in Nigeria, Tobi co-founded Ignite Initiative, a non-profit building Nigerian universities entrepreneurs to help them escape with their viable and thriving businesses beyond their school years. Welcome with me to this episode of Young People in Missions, Tobi Etti. Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of Young People in Missions, where we have conversations with young people doing amazing things regarding the goal mandates as instructed by our Lord Jesus Christ in Matthew chapter 28. With me today is an amazing young man doing great things for Jesus. In his environment, in his community, and beyond. With me is Tobi Etti. With a big clap, can we welcome this young man to this episode? Hello, Tobi Etti. It's nice to have you here.
Thank you.
Great. So this is you and I having a conversation, and I'm sure that quite a lot of young people want to know what exactly you're doing with regards to missions. Of course, this is all about missions. So I'd like to find out from you, what do you think you're doing with regards to missions as a young person? What space are you occupying?
Okay. I think that's been dynamic for me. Last year it was more about going to the mission field
Right.
and going to living my own comfort zone
Mm.
and going to the farthest place
Right.
around the earth, basically. And that was fun. I learned a lot. I met a lot of people. I met people I could meet to look up to.
Right.
I met people I could learn from.
Mm.
Um, I got to get into new environments,
Right.
totally different from mine. I got to see it from different point of views, and I got to appreciate the work or the assignment that Christ gave to us. This year for me has been totally different. I've been doing more of organizing and planning more of mission trips, planning more of outreaches, trying
Right.
to get a whole community, trying to get the church, trying to get people around me to get involved in missions. And next year for me, looking at the future. So I'm more focused on enabling more young people, maybe Gen Zs and millennials to get into missions. That's it basically.
Interesting more about this. You're actually not on the mission field, but then you're mobilizing young people to get involved in missions. How does that work? Can you be specific with regards to what do you do? Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, it's simple. Talk to people.
Okay.
So my first mission trip was with the mission enablers, and that was to Bochi. And going to Bochi, I got a lot of burdens,
Right.
and I caught a lot of burdens, and I figured out that when I was trying to explain this to people, they didn't understand. They could not relate. They enjoyed. Oh, how was the journey? How's the place? How are the people? And so what they had was pity. And oh wow, people are going through a lot, right? But that didn't really charge them up to do more for God.
Right.
That didn't really charge them up to discover their own mission purpose, right? And I felt like to do that, right, I had to find a way of giving them that same experience.
Wow.
Then I understand that there are different people. Looking at the generation I feel like I've been sent to,
Right.
Gen Zs and millennials, not everybody will really like to leave their comfort zone. But within the comfort zone, what can we do to literally take them, to get involved in God's work?
Right.
And so whenever I plan anything or whenever I design anything, it's not really focused on the beneficiaries, not focused on the people on the field. It's literally designed for people that are actually doing the giving back, designed for the volunteers, designed to ensure that they catch the burden of missions. And doing this for over a period of time, I've seen outputs.
Right.
So last week, somebody reached out to me and said, "Oh, I'm looking for a community to give back to,"
Wow.
and all of those stuff.
Wow.
She joined me in one other community that we worked on, and I could recommend her to another community.
Right.
And she went with some of her friends, and they were really excited, and they're looking to do more. And I was so excited because she went with some of her friends, and some of our friends will also catch this burden too.
So people just keep catching the burden from one. Wow, that's quite interesting. So this is you trying to explain to us that missions is not all about going out of your environment, that there are missional activities or initiatives all around us. Would you want to share your experience regarding 1, 2 of these missional initiatives or activities that you've been able to embark on around you, maybe in your community or beyond?
Okay, yeah. So the principle is God is the God of all,
right,
and also the God of one.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to realize that mission is not just about numbers.
Right.
God can organize a whole crusade, filling the stadium for one person. And so mission in the city is more about discipleship. In a city like Lagos, where everyone has heard about Jesus,
Right.
but nobody sees Jesus as real. It's just on that superstar. So they see Jesus as on that superstar, but nobody's ready to see him as master and savior.
Right.
In a city like that, mission is more focused on soul winning. There's a place of conversion and the person in Christianity, but soul winning. How do you condition a person to surrender their soul to Christ, listen, to submit to the obedience and the leadership of the Holy
Jesus?
Spirit,
Yeah, right.
So we have looked at communities around us here in Lagos, like the Jakode community,
right,
and we have worked with local missionaries, people that God has sent there, empower them, empower their programs, in terms of people, in terms of financial resources, getting people to support them, looking at every other thing that can support the work on ground. Aside from that, I and some friends last year decided to just focus on one community, because when you look at the evangelism aspect of mission,
right,
it's not just about going to different places every time. You can decide to focus your energy in one community. You give to that community, you pray for that community, you reach out to that community. You are very concerned about the growth of that particular community.
Right.
So it is a burden. It's like a field, and maybe I will call it inner city missions.
Oh,
right?
wow. Okay.
So it's like a field, and you are there for a period of time until God allows you to exit. And
so you heard from Tobi, Etti, how we can balance, living in big cities as well as still carrying out God's purpose for the earth, which is the Great Commission. Jesus' assignment that he gave to every one of us as his disciples to go make disciples of all nations. Thank you so much, Tobi, Etti. It's been an amazing time spent with you, but we're not done yet. We'll be right back, but we'll take a very, very quick break. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
The mandate that God has given to us is to raise a company of believers that we promote, raise awareness and funding for mission, both in Africa and globally.
The most important thing that I'm taking home is the fact that where we are right now, the people, they don't have all the luxury that we have. There's this love, there's this like unity. You can see that everybody is happy, even when we are seeing them like they're not comfortable.
I used to be this kind of person that don't like evangelism and soul winning, but later on I discovered that this burden for souls just came up, and I became so mad about soul winning. But coming on this trip, I became crazier for souls.
Thank you so much for staying with us. Still with me is Tobi Durusimi Etti. Thank you for Tobi for hanging around with us. So I heard you mention Gen Z quite a number of times, and the millennials. You've been like, oh, these are the people that I have been sent to. And this is you as a young man saying, I know the people that I have been sent to. So I'd like to find out from you if there is anything you want to say to the Gen Zs, the millennials listening to you right now, what's the space that they have in missions that you want them to be aware of?
Yeah, so from my experience and going to the field and being actively involved in missions
Right.
over a period of some years, there's a lot of opportunities for young people to serve in missions. And missions is more than evangelism, is more than going to the farthest place of the earth. There's evangelism, there's intercession, there's research and strategy in missions, there's finance and investment, there's discipleship, there's networking, there's partnership, there's a lot that we can do in missions, right? And many young people have the opportunity to get involved in some of these things, basically. At the same time, right, I feel like many young people are also afraid of missions because of the way we have been taught about missions. So the way we see it many of the time is that you literally have to leave everything to get into missions. But we have to understand that the world is really changing. The world there's this new globalization that can also empower our missions. So for example, and when you look at missionaries, that people that got into missions about 30 or 40 years ago, or even 20 years ago, within they have this whole mobile and internet technology that can still help you communicate with your family. So you can be at the farthest point in the earth and you have a satellite that gives you the opportunity to communicate with your family. So you literally don't have to just go out of action, at the same time, right, you can still be an entrepreneur and still do missions. You can take time off rather than spending your leave and going everywhere. You can decide to spend your 2 weeks leave in a mission field. It's possible for you to do that, right? You can decide to take part of your earning or part of the earnings of your business, and support a missionary somewhere and just adopt. Okay, I'm adopting Brazil, and I'm adopting a local church in Brazil, and I'm going to be sponsoring them with this 20% of my income. I'm going to pray for them. I'm going to, know them. I'm going to know the name of their pastors and what is really going on ground. So there is a wide range of opportunity for a lot of young people. Don't be afraid of missions. It is, I don't think God is going to tell you to just drop every single thing. I feel like a lot of people are afraid of that. I feel like that's what a lot of young people have been taught. So they don't even want to think about it, because once they think about it and they feel like they've heard from God,
It's like, oh no, I don't want to do this.
Yeah, it's like they feel guilt-tripped to surrender their lives to God. But we have to realize that God really wants to use who you are. He wants to use you the way you are. He likes your personality, created you for that same purpose. At the same time, right, there's the media that you can leverage for God. There's just so much you can do for God. One of the missionary activities that we did earlier this year was to go to some hospitals and try to even support people that are there. And by God's grace, we have seen young people that are willing to adopt young children. And I keep telling many of my friends that are not married, they're like, you earn enough to adopt a child. The child does not literally have to live with you, I understand. But the child can be in a home. And you play this old big sister or big mommy or big brother, uncle for that child. You pay the child school fees, you support the child's welfare. You follow up on the child. You check up on the child maybe once or twice in a month, or even every week. It's possible. And you play an active role in the life. Being intentional about the child, understanding that every child is your child, and that is literal missions. And if it's just for that child alone. And when you read the book of God's generals, right, you notice that many of them had one person that decided to hold them tight and ensure that that they'll grow. And that child can be the next Apostle Paul that will win 1 million souls. And that is just like network marketing, and those souls are literally tied to you.
Absolutely.
So there's this whole world of opportunity for young people to play in missions. Don't be afraid of giving. You will discover purpose doing that.
Interesting. And so Tobi Etti just said it to you and I, that there is a lot of room for you in terms of missions. Don't be afraid. That's what he said. And I believe those words, because I know he's not been operating from the place of fear. He has been operating from the place of faith. One thing he said that stood out for me is, you can take a part of your salary, dedicate it to the welfare or the well-being of a missionary kid or a child somewhere That is a missional activity on its own. So not everybody is going to be on a mission field in order to carry out, Jesus's instruction of going into the world and preaching the gospel to all creatures. Preaching the gospel could be as simple as being the hands and the feet of Jesus to the child next door, to the woman next door. Thank you so much, Tobi. Any final words for the Gen Zs and the millennials, even as we call it a wrap on this episode with you?
All right, thank you for that question. And one thing that a lot of young people need to realize is that it is a process. It took a number of years for David to become king after he was anointed.
Right.
So when God will call you into missions, yes, for some people, the next day they leave everything and they just move. For others, it's a process. It's a process of submission. Your heart is fully submitted, but the outward part is a process. With time, you get involved fully in missions. My first phase was going into the mission field, and my second phase was organizing and helping people experience their first mission trip.
Right.
And I'm getting into this phase where I really want to help a lot of young people to discover their purpose in missions. I noticed that many people are restless, and I understand that the restlessness is not really from the issues about on life. The restlessness is just a burden from God, and God is calling them to something deeper. God is trying to tell them that your life is more than choosing a career. He wants you to be the CEO. He wants you to be that mighty entrepreneur. He wants you to be a musician. He wants you to do so much for yourself, right? But at the same time, he has also called you into missions. And he's telling you that, oh, my child, you can do both. You don't have to leave one for the other and all of those stuff, right? So my one tip for you is decide to live a purposeful life for God. Decide to see how you can give back. Decide to be more God-centered, not selfish, not self-centered, but more God-centered. Decide to just really listen and just take that step. It starts from that one step, and after you take that one step, everything plays out. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you. It's been a very amazing time spent with you. Thank you so much. And so you heard it from Tobi himself. Many words from him that point at the fact that every young person should be involved in missions. There are various ways in which you can be involved in missions. And like you said, sometimes the restlessness you feel is not as a result of the issues of life. It is because the Lord is placing a burden in your hearts for a group of people, for a nation, for a territory. Would you discover that burden this season and how to go about, relieving yourself of this restlessness that you feel by listening to the voice of the Holy Spirit and taking your place in missions? And so it's a wrap on this episode. Until I come your way again, I remain Temitope Akinrotimi. I'll see you again.